Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lee is dropping
what it is. Brad Lee back again with another episode of Drop Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I am piping in a freaking champ. You probably heard of him before. If you haven't, you're about to. His name's Alex Hormozi. He's the CEO of Gym Launch. Okay, he's got a meal company. He's probably got more companies than I even know about. But the reason I brought this cat on is one reason. The dude used to sleep on the floor, have no money whatsoever, and then he started freaking a few businesses, and now he's a multi, damn near. I don't even know. He might end up a billionaire. Smart son of a bitch, folks. You better pay attention to this one. We're not going to talk much about COVID, although I want to bring up COVID. Welcome, Alex Hormozi. What's up, buddy?
What's up? Thank you so much for the intro. Honored to be here. Actually, I'm pumped to be here more than anything. I've been looking forward to this podcast since it's been on the calendar.
Well, so have I, man, because I'll tell you, dude, when me and you first started talking, I'm thinking, God damn, dude, if this dude ran Lightspeed, I'd already be a billionaire. Because, dude, you do stats, you know what you're doing, you're quick, you're still cool. Like, usually you got to be some sort of techie nerd type to be like you. So you've got like the techie nerd that I can't seem to be, and you got the cool. So you're like a unique mix of things. And then also you know how to build culture. You know how to build brands. Like, where'd you learn all this shit?
Everywhere, Google. I say that half jokingly, but I say that in a lot of seriousness. I think, so one of the major beliefs that I've espoused in our whole community is knowing what the path looks like in terms of leveling up as an entrepreneur. And at least how I saw it was, in the beginning, you're acquiring skills. The next level, you're acquiring character traits. And then after that, you're breaking and challenging beliefs. And I see that as three steps that continue to repeat themselves over and over again at each level. And so like in the beginning, you're learning how to market and sell, right? You're trying to learn how to promote, learn how to get people to buy stuff, right? You don't even know what you're selling. You're just trying to get somebody to give you money, right? And then you start and stop and you're shiny object and you're like, you start doing this thing, you start doing that thing, right? And you're going all over the place because you don't have the character traits that allow you to be disciplined and patient and consistent, right? And so it's like you had these skills, but you weren't applying them because you didn't have the character traits. And so first you learn the skill, then you learn the character traits, and then you change your beliefs about what you should be doing for fulfillment. What you should be doing is the opportunity vehicle that you're going to use to package your skills and ultimately monetize them in. And then you kind of start all over again. You're like, okay, what skill do I need to learn now? I learned how to sell, but now I got to learn how to train someone else to sell. Then I got to learn how to manage a sales team. Then I got to learn I used to learn how to market, but then I got to learn how to run a graphics department and a video department and copywriting and traffic and media, right? And you're like, oh, wow. So I had to learn each of those skills myself so that I could then teach someone, but then also call someone else out on their BS if they're like, well, that's not possible. You're like,
now see right there, dude, that is my problem, because I was about to say, why'd you have to learn it yourself? Because you don't have to. If you try to be everything to everybody, you're going to end up a small ass company, which again, you've grown your company to how much now?
We did 37 million last year.
So dude, that's like, do you think it's hard getting to freaking $37 million? It's I think the percentages are astronomical that most companies like go out of business in the first year. Then after, like, let's say 92%, then after that, out of the small fraction that actually make it a year, 92% of those will never reach more than $10 million revenue.
Yeah.
So you're against all odds. And I'm telling you, and you just said it, you learned it so you could call people on their bullshit.
For me,
because that's what I cannot do. I go back, I say, man, I need the system to do this. I let's make it do that. And then like 7 months later, it's like, where are we? And they're like, well, it takes time. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me know. And I'm like, dude, if I knew how to code, I could walk back there and be like, bullshit, bro. This should have been done 6 months ago. You're out.
you know how Elon Musk he's an expert at so many things. And I think that's what's allowed him, I mean, a zillion other reasons, but one of the reasons he's been able to innovate so well and create so many unique companies is because he knows a lot about programming. He knows a lot about mechanical engineering. He knows a lot about electrical engineering. He knows a lot about chemistry and plastics and materials. And he knows how to market, and he knows how to promote, and he knows how to do PR, and he knows how to recruit. And so all of those things are skills that he had to lace together. And at least for me, like, I don't need to be able to know how to do every single thing, but the biggest skill that I think we, right, as CEOs have to know is how to be able to recognize true talent. And there's so many people that talk the talk and sound pretty and look good, but like over time you develop the pattern recognition. You're like, I think you're full of shit. You're like, I think you sound good, but I don't think you have the grit, you know? Yeah, it gets back to the big point. It's like, I need to be able to know what's happening so that I can say whether it's good or not, or how it needs to be improved. And fortunately, the areas that I don't know the most about, like finance and HR, like I don't know anything about that, right? Like I haven't even had the desire to learn about that. I think we had enough interpersonal awareness to be like, this person comes heavily vetted. I talked to all of the CEOs that they worked with before. I looked at the track record, and then immediately within the first week, I felt relief, and the things they were doing made sense to me. And then I would check with other people that I know that are just as smart. And I had my other finance buddies interview that person to vet them because it's their skill set, not mine, right? And so that's how I try and cover the blind spots on the areas that I don't know. But for me, at least as CEO, product, marketing, or product and acquisition are the two things that I feel like I have to know better than just about anyone. And acquisition comes to all forms: marketing, sales, lead nurture, the follow-up sequences, pages, funnels, traffic buying. Like, I need to know that stuff really well. And then to the same degree, the product, right? I need to know more specifically what it's supposed to do, not how the lines of code work, but what the problem it's supposed to solve is.
How much time per day did you spend getting up to speed learning?
So I right now work still 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I haven't really stopped that.
And you haven't really what?
I haven't stopped that. I still do that. I don't have kids. My wife works with me. We only need a half day, to feel recharged or whatever. And we start super early. We start at 4 or 5 in the morning, and we usually go until 4 or 5. So that's kind of our schedule: 4 or 5 in the morning, 4 or 5 at night. And then we just take out, last 3 hours of every day. It's just me and my wife, and we have dinner and, just rest and hang out. And then we do it all over the next day. And I've done the same thing since I started.
And folks, if you guys can't see them because you're listening to the audio, you can check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/VT as in virtual training, Brad Lee, LEA. So you can see the dude. The dude's all ripped. So dude, you have to be working out some during part of that 12 hours.
Usually I work out after work. I just recently started working out first thing. I've done all different times. Usually it just depends on what work I'm doing at what time. I'd say if I'm in a heavy build mode, I tend to do my most creative work in the mornings. And so I get out of bed and I already have things I want to start working on. And then at the end of the day, my brain's tired, but my body's fresh. And so then I'll work out. If I have to make more like strategic decisions and like have to like talk to people and train and coach, like the team, then I'll probably work out in the morning so that I'm physically a little bit more calm. And then I can go into the meetings like without my like aggressive side coming out.
So bring me back a little bit. You used to sleep on couches and be just like broke. Were you still like fitness, but just broke? Because I know a lot of dudes that are so into the gym.
Yeah.
Like they always make fun of me because, I got a little love handle. They're always like, hey, why don't you put a little weight on that bar? And I'm like, why don't you put a little fucking money in the bank? Like at the end of the day, like you can screw with me about being buff, but dude, I can screw with you about being broke. You've got both things covered. But back in the day, were you still into fitness?
I was obsessed with fitness until the day I opened my business, and then it automatically took a backseat.
So you were in shape then?
Yes. I've been in shape. I mean, I've been training since I was 13. So I had a six pack when I was 14 years old. Like I've never been in like out of shape. I think big picture, I've always seeked status. And so really the things that would get me girls. And so, you know, when I was in high school, what got you girls is like, at least I thought, was being in shape. And, you know, that's what I thought.
Till you learned it was money.
Right. And in college, it was doing well and then getting a good job afterwards. So I did super well, and I did better in college than I did in high school because I didn't really care as much. Then I got a management consulting job. I finished in 3 years. I was president of the fraternity. I did all the things that you're supposed to do to get status in that community. And then as soon as I graduated, I realized none of that matters. You just got to be rich as shit. And so, and so all of my focus went towards business. But the habits of like, it's hard to unlearn knowing what, like, I know what I'm eating every day because I've been doing it for so long. Like it doesn't take any mental energy. And then like training, it takes so little energy to maintain what you spent years building that I can work out twice a week for 30 minutes and I can maintain like what I look like now.
So you were sleeping on the floor, which basically meant you had no money. Your parents weren't rich. What were they? Middle class?
No, my parents. So my dad's a doctor, but I had so he was like, hey, you should just take over my practice.
What kind?
He's a plastic surgeon. So yeah, he does well. But I never wanted anyone, and this is my own ego. I never wanted anyone to say you were successful because of your dad. Now that being said, my dad loved me and he supported me and he put me in, you know, good school. So like, I can never really get around that, right? He gave me good genetics, whatever you want to say, right? But insofar as like, I saved the money for me working as a management consultant for 2 years. I saved 60 grand. When I was 22, I'd saved 60 grand by the time I turned 23. And that's when I opened my first facility. I spent all of the money I had and I saved $10,000 left over, and the rent was $5,000 a month. And so I had 2 months worth of rent on a 5-year lease, and I had never sold anything in my life. In fact, I was offered a job at Merrill Lynch to be on the sales side for wealth management. And I said, I'm not a salesman. That's not who I am. I'm an academic. And as soon as I opened my doors, I was like, shit, I got to get people to give me money. And so that I learned real fast.
Yeah. So when you were saving that 60 G's and you opened your business,
yeah,
you were basically sleeping on the floor of the business.
Yeah. I slept at the gym for the first 9 months.
So like literally, like that's not one of those, I walked uphill both ways and carried a baked potato on the way so I could keep my hands warm. And when I got there, that was my lunch.
Right. No, I slept on the floor for the first 9 months, but the caveat,
even though you had 60 G's in the bank.
No, I spent that to open the business. So I saved 60 and then I spent that to build the gym. And
where were you sleeping when you saved 60?
Just in my apartment.
Because a lot of times, dude, people can't save $60,000. Like that's, to me, like, dude, you save 60 freaking G's. Like, how do you do that? How old were you?
21 through 23.
See, when I was 21, number one, I'd be lucky if I was making 60 G's. Actually, I was, but I was blowing it.
Yeah.
Dude, I was blowing it, trying to chase that tail, look cool, impress people. Was it your upbringing or you were just smarter than me?
No, my dad's first generation immigrant. And so he came here with a suitcase and nothing. And now he built his whole life off of just work ethic. And so like and we never spent money. You wouldn't know that I was raising money because we wouldn't use paper napkins at the dinner table because he's like, it's a waste of money. We didn't use paper towels because they were expensive. Like he's a plastic surgeon, but like he never stopped living that way. And so that translated over. Like the car that I had, I bought for $5,000 in cash. So I had no payment on it. I had no nothing. And I lived on $1,100 a month while I was a management consultant. And that's a really good paying job. And so I lived all in on that. And I lived in Baltimore, but all of my work was in DC or in Omaha, Nebraska at Stratcom. So I used to work space, cyber, and intelligence. Different life than now, but but anyways, during that contract work, I was paid well, and that's what I saved it.
Well, if anyone's listening, that's the first thing you guys got to figure out is how to save money and not spend it. Not like me, dude. When I started Lightspeed, I was pretty much broke. I had child support. I had car payments. I had lived beyond my means as a salesperson and a sales manager. You know, I was making 300-400 grand before I quit, but I'd spend it. So again, I was just broke at another level. Yeah. And when I first started my business, you know, it was hard to get going. So literally I had a 1-bedroom apartment. No, I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I didn't have much furniture. I needed a lot of shit, car payments, all this. Problem is when I started making $10,000 a month with Lightspeed, which took a while, I took 5 of it and hired somebody. Everyone's like, dude, what are you doing? And I didn't even think about it. I was building the company. I wasn't thinking about getting more dialed in. I wasn't thinking about new furniture. I wasn't thinking about a nicer car, getting caught up. I was thinking about building the business. And so when I look back, man, I basically did the same thing. I reinvested money and didn't worry about getting a nicer house. And that was the hardest thing I think most people had to figure out is, you know, scaling their business by reinvesting and living low. And you were doing the same thing.
Layla and I have 1 car.
You still live low.
Yeah. We live on less than $9,000 a month.
Still?
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. I know that may sound like a lot to the listeners, but for relative scale, that's less than 1% of what I take home every month.
Not only that, but dude, 9,000 a month, dude, is like, you ain't living high on the hog, then.
I bought my house in cash. I know Uncle G said no, but I have no payments. I have no debt. Everything I own is in cash. And that's just like, I didn't want anxiety. So for me, I'm actually really security driven, ironically, as an entrepreneur. So like once I make the money, I never want to lose it. And so like, I've been broke and I did not enjoy it. And I don't want to be broke ever. And so that's how
folks, pay attention to what that lesson is. So you save 60 G's, you opened up a gym, you basically invested all your money and were willing to sleep on the floor for 9 months. Did you say?
Yeah.
9 months. Why didn't
you do a wrinkle to that will make that story a little better?
Go ahead.
I increased the revenue of the gym by $5,000 a month every single month for that period of time. And I still slept on the floor. So I was sleeping on the floor and I was taking home $25,000 a month.
Just because you like to be there?
I think there's a little bit, I think there's a certain degree of like definitely internal fucked upness of like enjoying the grit and the struggle and being like, I'm going to tell this fucking story. But I also really just like making money and seeing it go up in my bank account. So
you're like, it's like a scoreboard.
It's a game. Yeah. I got addicted. Like every time I think about, am I going to spend something? I would be like, I really want to make sure I go up this month. And so I'm like, I'd rather go up. And that's just like pretty much how it's always been. I mean, literally my wife right now, she's like, let's get a second car. And this has been like our discussion of the last probably 2 months. She's like, get a second car. I'm like, what do we need a second car for? You know? And then she was like, the G-Wagon's really nice. And I'm like, I know it's nice. I'm like, why don't we just get let's just get a pickup for like 20 grand and then like not think about it. She's like, babe, when are you going to stop living like this? And I'm like, I don't know. But then I see Warren Buffett, I see Charlie Munger, you know, living in $60,000 middle America households. And I'm like, I'm sure there's a balance point, but I think not them, but I lean more to that side than to the Lambo and all that. And the car I got for free.
I'm on the other side. It's almost like if you did have kids and they went to you and said, Dad, can I borrow $30? You'd say $20. What do you need $10 for? Yeah.
What can you work for free?
Dude, it's like you're the type of dude that just likes that scoreboard.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So it started making money. Yeah. And then when did it click and say, shit, I need to open up a chain? Or like, how did Gym Launch Secrets get going?
So I'll give you as short a story as I can. Basically, the plan was never to have one gym. So I went into this wanting to build America's next like huge fitness facility. And I wanted it to be based on transformations and results. And like, that's what I really wanted it to be about. And so the thing that I was able to do well was I was able to open up each facility at full capacity on the first day, except for the first one. So I went to this Facebook marketing conference and I learned how to run Facebook ads in 2013. And so it was a 2-day conference. It was an intensive. It was like, What was that?
What'd that cost you?
So it cost me $3,000 to go to this 2-day like intensive. And this was my first thing I ever bought in the information space. And the promise was if you were going to make $10,000 by the end of the weekend, or you got your money back. And I was like, okay, like, sure. And I didn't have the whole gym cost me 50. I had 60. So 3 was like 3 of the 10 that was left. So like, it was a lot to me. And like, I'm cheap. So like, I was like, all right, like I got to figure this out. And after the weekend, I did not make $10,000, but I learned how to run Facebook ads and I got it. I was like, I see how this works. I can figure this out. And so I was able to run ads, and that's what allowed me to start filling up the facility quickly. And by month 9, that's actually when I had fully outsourced the facility. So at that point, I had all the trainers, the manager. It was running without me being there. And so at month 15, I was able to open up my second location. That cost me $250,000. And so I've been able to save up just about $200 at that point from the cash flow of the business to open up the second location. And then every 6 months after that, I opened up a new facility at full capacity. And so I opened up 6 locations over the next 3 years total. And then I started going to these internet marketing conferences and things like that. And I saw this guy, Russell Brunson, speak. And he wasn't allowed to pitch. So he just like talked about funnels and stuff. And I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is cool. And a year went by. I never did anything. And one night I was, this is during a different period of my life. I was drinking about half a bottle of Johnny Walker Black every day because I had nothing to do. I was bored out of my mind. Like all 6 of the gyms were running and I was at home and I had nothing to do. I would text them, be like, hey, you need anything? And they were like, I guess we need some like ink for the printer. And I'd go on Amazon. I'd buy anything else. They're like, no, like we're good. I was like, all right. And so I went and I saw he was like looking for inner circle members, whatever. And then I signed up for his coaching group for $25,000, which again was a ton for me at the time for still as a gym owner. Like I was asset rich, cash poor, because every time I had more money, I opened another facility. And that was like, basically I just stack, another facility, stack, another facility. And that's how I did it. But as soon as I showed up at the first thing there, he said, and the biggest thank you that I have to Russell in my whole life is that he broke a belief for me. And so that's why I think these progressions of skills first, I learned how to market and sell, and I learned how to operate and run a business. And then there were character traits that allowed me to do it more consistently. And then I, met Russell, and he's like, he said this, I'm not saying I, necessarily say anything bad, but he was like, you're too good to be a gym owner. He's like, you have a level 10 skill set and a level 2 opportunity. That's what he told me. And so it like hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, shit. And so I was like, but this guy makes more money than me. And so I will listen. And so I sold my gyms. I took his advice and then I started launching gyms. So I started going to other facilities and filling them up to full capacity like I had done mine. So I would basically take a gym in 30 days from 0 to full, doing all the marketing and sales stuff. And I would keep all the upfront revenue. But I was flying out, and then eventually I scaled up to a sales team of 8 guys, and every month we'd launch 8 gyms, flying out to different cities, launching these gyms, and I keep all the upfront, and then they would get the members. So they'd get 200 free members. I'd get the first 6 weeks of cash, and then the rest was theirs. And that was kind of the trade-off. So there's no risk to them. I had all the risk, and that's why I got all the upfront. But then quickly I was like, this is not a very logistically scalable model. So at that point I was doing about $350 a month. When I started launching the gyms, and I was like, you know what, there's a number of things that happened in the period of time that the model didn't work out. I didn't have any control of the fulfillment, so we could sell somebody, but the people who were coming to me were typically failing gym owners. So they didn't have good product. They weren't good. And so I would sell them, and then they would do a horrible job on fulfillment. And then I was the one who's carrying the risk of the processing transaction. And so we get refunds and chargebacks and all sorts of stuff. And I was like, it didn't feel right. It was close, but it was wrong. And so what ended up happening is I said, Layla, she was with me at the time. I said, why don't we just start selling online and forget the gyms? Like we'll sell weight loss. We'll just sell straight to consumers. And we said, cool. And so within 14 days, we're doing $1,000 a day. I was like, this is great. We'll take the 8 sales guys. We'll bring them in. It's going to be awesome. We'll do 8,000 a day. This could work. And so I had 8 more gyms that were supposed to launch the next month. They were supposed to. And so I called him up and I was like, hey, we're not, because I had to book these things out a couple months in advance. And so I called him up. I was like, hey, we're not going to be doing this thing anymore. We're going another direction. And the guys were like, listen, man, like I need this. I maxed out my credit cards. I'm up to my ears in debt. Like I need these clients, man. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, but like, I'm not doing it anymore. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'll show you how to do it. I was like, but I'm not flying out there to save your ass if you can't sell. And they were like, no, that's fine. That's fine. And so they were like, well, how much? And at the time I picked the highest number that I could think of for selling something, which was $6,000. I was like, $6,000. And I wanted him to say no. That's why I tried to pick a high number. I didn't want to do it. And he was like, okay. And I was like, you would have thought if you had looked at my face when that happened, I was like, holy shit. And I was like, okay. And then I called up the second guy who was supposed to launch for that next month. I had 8. Same conversation. He was like, how much? And I was like, $8,000. He was like, okay. And I was like, and I called the rest of the guys and I made $60,000 in that day. And I was like, holy shit. And so I looked at Layla and I was like, babe, we're not getting out of the gym industry. I was like, we were just doing it wrong. And so I think that's interesting because you can have the same skill set, but packaged in different opportunity vehicles can create massively different results. And so over the weekend, I built the whole training system and all that stuff. And then we launched it and all 8 of those guys made $40,000 in their first month using all of our systems. And then that was March of 17. And since then, we sold, now the program's 16,000 and we have a yearly kind of group that we continue to coach people and improve their businesses. That's 35,000 a year. And we now have 3,100 gyms that purchased that $16,000 program, across 14 countries, over 2,500 in the US alone. And so it's been a ride. And so that was kind of the impetus of gym launch skyrocketing. A year and a half later, I started a supplement company, Prestige Labs, because all the gyms, I sold supplements a ton at my gyms. And I never really had anything that worked well. I needed to do it as a good profit stream. But there was a ton of problems with how like the traditional model set up with like fronting the inventory and all that kind of stuff. And so we made a zero inventory model for the gyms with a POS that worked integrated into their back end to track to the trainer and everything. And so we launched that. First month we did 1.7 million. And then that's pretty much stayed as a constant. That's another like $15 to $20 million a year revenue stream for me. That comes from the supplement company. We started meals this last December, which Brad was referencing. We started that again into the distribution base. It's just solving the next problems. And then in about a year and a half ago, we started building a software, which has been pretty much the thing that I focus at least half my time on, is building that out because it's not just for gyms, it's for any vertical. And so that's now it did 580 last month, and it's 6 months of being around. So that's pretty exciting for us. That it just kind of just recently hit its hockey stick, and it's gaining a lot of traction because we spent so much time. Brad knows from other conversations how much time I've put into this thing. It is a data machine, and it is awesome. So I can talk more about throughput from click to close all the way through. But that's what it was built to do, is to optimize how many dollars a brick and mortar business gets off their marketing, and it's really good. So that's kind of the story.
Scalability of that, huh?
Was that?
You must love the scalability of SaaS model software.
It's crazy. It is incredibly. So to anybody who just knows Brad as Brad Lee, the guy you saw as the influencer, the guy on Instagram or whatever, like, running a SaaS business is the hardest type of business. You have the sharpest minds. It's the most competitive world. They're well capitalized. They're venture backed. You're fighting against the smartest dudes in the game, right? Like the level of people who compete at an MLM versus a brick and mortar versus online marketing versus, like, you continue to go up in skill set. And I think the tip top of that, look at the biggest businesses in the world. They're all software-based businesses, biggest ones. They own the world. And so you have the smartest, brightest guys that you're competing against. And it's expensive. It takes time. You have to make really hard trade-offs and strategic decisions. It's been lots of fun because of the challenges, because it's a different level of game. But yeah, so I mean, I love the software side, because you also have something that you can show, right? Like, this is what you can show someone this, whereas, with information or coaching, things like that, it's a result that they're going to experience. Otherwise, you're just showing them videos, portal, etc. But with SaaS, you can show what you're doing, which I think is just very cool as an entrepreneur.
So if I'm a gym owner listening to this and I'm like shut down right now, how do you help a shut down gym right now?
So we 9 months ago or 10 months ago now, I took a really public stance that I got a lot of flack for, that I thought that there was going to be a recession coming, and that I thought that there was going to be an event of some sort. I definitely didn't guess it was going to be a flu, but I thought there was going to be some event that was going to pop the bubble around brick and mortar group training. And the signs were showing, at least for the brick and mortar gym models, because there were lots of the market had slowed down in its growth. Profit margins were dropping. Price was getting driven down towards the commoditized services. And guys are barely making it in the best economic times. And so I was like, as soon as they shake the tree, 30 of you guys are going out of business. And so the solution that I presented then is the same solution we have now, which is you need to pivot to having remote services, having one-on-one online services in addition to your in-person training. It's higher margin. It increases your scale. I believe it's more valuable because people value convenience and personalization more than anything. And that's not going to change. That's human beings. And so those are bets that I would be willing to make. And so we made those videos, and then I got lots of shit for them. And then COVID happened. Then I got less shit for making those videos. So that was nice. But our guys we'd already built out the entire system. And so overnight we pivoted our whole community. And so our whole community is selling just as much, if not more now, online than they were in person. And a lot of our guys are just contemplating whether or not they even want to go back because they make more money. They're making
What's their brick and mortar doing? Nothing?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, they're closed. They can't do it. I mean, there's nothing you can't. I mean, some of them were, a lot of them were able to transition their in-person clients to remote, but on top of that, they sell remote services for people that aren't currently customers.
Couldn't if you're a gym out there and you're closed, can't you figure out a way to become an essential facility? Like, for example, doctors are essential. So bring a doctor in and consider the workout medically based. Wouldn't that work?
You might. I wouldn't say that it wouldn't work. For me, I had to think of what is something that they can all do tomorrow to generate cash flow. And so converting their existing customers into remote clients, most of them are able to keep 90% of their clients.
Really? And when you say remote, like I'm going to log in the morning, do a Zoom and work out of my house?
No, so that's the way the majority of the market is doing it. I'm not saying that the majority of the market's doing a good job. Our guys are doing a good job. And so,
but is that what you mean? I'm gonna log in and do fitness, watching you and listening to you from home?
No, I mean that could be a component of it, but the big difference between, so big picture, if you're in the gym, I'll take 90 seconds on gyms. If you're in the gym industry, you're not going to beat Beachbody at having online workouts. They've been doing it for 20 years. They're better than you at it. All right. They're huge. They're well capitalized. They can beat you at it, and they're cheaper. I
almost closed those pricks on Lightspeed about 8 years ago.
Close them. Hey, Carl, if you're listening, you should use Lightspeed.
I think Carl. Carl was in the room. I almost closed them, but I think they ended up trying to copy it. Well, just build their own, not copy it. But at the end of the day, I almost closed those pricks, dude. That would have been a good one. Damn it, Carl.
So you're not going to compete with them there, right? In the same degree, you're not going to compete with like free workout diet plans, right? Like you can Google them and get them for free. So all that stuff's free already. So what competitive advantage can a service-based facility offer that no one else can? Accountability is making sure you do the shit that you're supposed to do. It's not the thing that you're doing that's the value. It's the making sure that you do it that's the value. And so we sell the accountability portion as the primary piece. Now we have the software behind that. That one I didn't build. We just private labeled something and then custom built a bunch of stuff into it. That was all of our systems and our messaging so that we could give people hey, you just had your first workout. How was it? Hey, what can I change? And so instead of having group workouts, they're actually individualized workouts for the person. And so think about it. Instead of, hey, I was paying $150 a month for in person. Why would I pay $150 a month for remote? Instead, it's, I was paying $150 a month for group, and now I'm paying $150 a month for one-on-one. And that's the key differentiator, is that now we're selling one-on-one service, but it's much more scalable because you're selling in a remote setting. Does that make sense?
Listen up, folks. If you got a gym or what about personal trainers?
They're in the exact same boat. You're going to have to sell accountability. You're going to have to sell one-on-one. And that's where you're going to be able to still get $200, $300 a month all day long from Gen Pop for that level of service. In fact, a lot of people actually prefer the one-on-one convenience of being able to have workouts catered to them, nutrition plan catered to them, and someone who's checking in on them every day to make sure they're actually doing it. and tracking their progress. No gyms are doing that in group training. And that's why it's more valuable.
What about leasing out your equipment? Like to me, there's a gym by my house. I would run down there. It was Fitness 19. They're closed. Like I didn't know the owner, but man, I'm telling you, I was like going, shit, dude, I wish I had that piece of equipment at my house real quick. Like I'd have kept paying, and I'd have gave them $100 a month just to say, hey, let me use that for a while. Like you're not using this son of a bitch. Bring it to my house. I'll give you $100 a month to use that those pieces of equipment. Yeah,
there are definitely a bunch of gyms that did that. Again, when I come up with solutions for our community, I have to think what's the lowest hanging fruit that everyone can execute without a lot of operational drag, and that's gonna feed them.
All right, now let's take a little abrupt turn, only because I know you like data from talking to you offline. Like, dude, you get freaking excited about data. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you call it data or data, but at the same time, you like numbers. So here's my question. Uh-huh. What the hell is going on with this COVID shit, dude? Is it are you in LA? Are you in California?
No, I'm in Austin. I'm in Texas.
Oh, thank God. Dude, I'm telling you, like Washington, the state of Washington, California, there's certain states that are just like going, they're just stupid, but the whole country's stupid. What do you think's happening?
I really liked that you framed this question with data, because that's how I talk about it. I think this is like what's happening right now is a perfect example of having people interpreting data differently, right? The quality of the data. Because ultimately, if everyone believed that the data, like in this extrapolates to business decisions, this extrapolates to how you run companies, all of this, why people who have the same values, most people in this country have the same value, why would they, if presented with the same data, make different decisions, right? And so right now, the question, the thing that's being brought into question is the validity of the data. Are these deaths really COVID, right? Like, or are there alternative incentives at play? Right now, hospitals are going out of business. Doctors are getting furloughed because there's no one who's going to hospitals. So the idea that they're overrun massive, like across the country, is pretty much a fallacy. Like that, I think if you talk to doctors, like my neighbors in the ER doc, like you talk to them, like they're empty, right? And so then you have the economic incentive for them, which is that you get $13,000 for every person who's COVID. Well, shit. If I have no more revenue and every death that I have has the potential, now, in order for you to, this is my understanding.
Isn't that fraud? That's fraud.
Right. In order for you to denote someone as COVID, they don't need to be tested positive. They just need to show symptoms of COVID, which could be a cough or signs of weakness. Now, I don't know about you, but most people before they die, who does not cough or show a sign of weakness?
Oh, yeah.
So you're putting good intentioned people, and then you're creating a situation where it would make almost logical sense economically, where you're being permitted to get funding where you can no longer generate revenue by marking something, because you made the requirements for that. You must mark anyone who shows these symptoms. Now, we've seen the dramatic decrease in pneumonia deaths and tuberculosis deaths and heart disease deaths. But I looked at the deaths from last year. So I did dive a little bit into this. And mind you, just for everybody, I've never voted. I don't care. But I just like to look at like what is, right? And so if you look at the deaths from last year, same time, to deaths this year, the same time, from a statistics standpoint, they're the same. And so the same amount of people are dying right now as were last year. And so
just from COVID now.
Right. But I'm like forgetting how we're coloring it. The total deaths, because you'd think if there was a pandemic that was murdering people everywhere, right, that there would be an increase in deaths. That would be natural, right? An increase of people would be dying if there's something that's worth shutting the whole country down. But we're not seeing the same total number of people are dying. Now, whether we're allocating it to COVID or not is less I'm not there. I'm not the one checking the boxes, right?
Well, we are doing that. And you already hit it. It's because they get paid. Now, my question is, if they said no more money for COVID, we don't care if they're COVID or flu, no more money for COVID. Mm-hmm. Do you think all of a sudden the COVID-19 pandemic would end?
I think hospitals would go out of business.
What do you mean?
Well, because they would no longer be
pandemic would end, wouldn't it?
Right. And as the downstream effect of that is that the whole point of flattening the curve was to not, or at least what we were told, or at least my understanding was, we were trying to flatten the curve so we don't overwhelm the healthcare system.
Yeah.
The healthcare system is underwhelmed. They are going out of business, getting furloughed because no one's there.
And that's a fact. That's not a theory.
Right.
So, you're not conspiracy theorying.
I have the powers that be. I have no statement on. It's just that. So yes, I think the incentives are misaligned. I think that you like that when you made the rules that way, the game was going to be played this way. Whether it was intentional or not is another discussion. But like, I can see why someone would say, yeah, well, if they have COVID, then we want to give them funding. That makes sense. Well, we don't have any tests, so we should just say if it looks like COVID. That makes sense in theory, but then in practicality, it means anyone who shows any sign of weakness before they die, I can get $13,000 for. Then human incentives is going to kick in. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and not making it a felony to be wrong. So at the end of the day, again, I wouldn't blame a hospital. If I owned a hospital and the government came in and said the same thing, dude, I don't consider it fraud. It's like, dude, if they have a indication that they might have COVID, you can get 13 G's. I'd be going, dude, that dude was coughing.
He looks like COVID, doesn't that guy? Smells like COVID, doesn't he?
Listen, he was sniffling, and that's a COVID thing. So COVID. Well, now these numbers start piling up, and all of a sudden it's like, see, I'm just wondering though, is it all coincidental and accidental, or is there some seriously sinister motherfucker somewhere doing this on purpose? Like, in other words, it was all a master plan. They knew offering money for COVID patients would cause all these people, because those doctors in LA were talking, which they get deleted all the time, saying, hey, why are we being pressured to put COVID? They said they were being pressured to put COVID. Why?
Probably because of the funding. Like, if you don't do it, we don't make the 13 grand.
Yeah, but well, who was pressuring them is the question. Because if it was the hospital owners, well, then that would make sense. But what if it's the politicians? What if it's the government?
That I don't know. I don't have I think that most people a lot of times, and take this with a grain of salt, but I think most conspiracy theories typically aren't right. And that's just people attribute, they worst case scenario it. I think the amount of coordination it would take to make something like this happen, and the level of prediction that it would take to know all of the human incentives that are going to kick in at every level with this much panic seems unrealistic to me. But I can describe the current scenario, you know what I mean? And I can say that it doesn't really make sense now, at least from where I'm sitting. But
you see it ending soon.
From an economic standpoint?
No. Do you see someone coming out going, all right, frick, we were wrong. Go ahead, go back to work. No. Right now, you got to wear masks. We're rolling it out in phases. They're worried about the second wave. It's all this, like, dude, the governor in Washington is like putting together National Guard to go door to door and test people.
Remove people or whatever. Yeah.
And then you got Governor Newsom in California. He's basically saying, well, we're going to lock down till August. Here's my question. Based on what? Like, when laws get made, man, there has to be a bill introduced. Then it has to get past, I think, the Senate or the House. Then it goes to the Senate. Then it goes to the president before it's a law. You remember the old, sitting here on Capitol Hill. Remember that cartoon?
I didn't see the cartoon. No.
Well, you can Google it, because you're a young man. I'm an old dog, but there used to be an after school cartoon that would be like, there'd be a rolled up piece of paper, but he had a face, and he'd be like, I'm just a bill sitting here on Capitol Hill. And both basically was teaching kids how laws became laws. Okay. So who says that there's a law that you can't go outside? When did it go to the Senate and then the House and then the president signed it?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're in agreement. I think it's ridiculous. I try not to think about it, because I end up just getting angry, and then it doesn't help my state, doesn't help me operate my business. So I try not to engage in it too much, because it's very frustrating. Because most people who are listening to this are entrepreneurs or aspiring to be. We all seek freedom, right? Like, even more so than general population, right? Like, we're in America, which by its very nature is a more free country than anywhere else. And then of that cream of the crop, the craziest motherfuckers want the freest freedom, which is entrepreneurs. We want no one to tell us what we have to do. Like, I still get bothered getting told to put a mask on when I go into public, because I'm like, guys, come on. Look at the data. Like, this is the flu. I have to get into some places. Like, to get groceries.
Well, you don't go get, you must. I was going to say, it's $5 to fucking deliver them. So that's out of the question.
Well, Instacart's like 6 days delayed.
That's out of the question for the Hormozi. I want to talk to Layla and see if she likes it or hates it.
Oh, she hates it.
Yeah, I would too, dude. My wife would not put up with that shit.
Yeah, she hates it. So, but I'm a big believer in controlling the things we can control. And so right now, these are the cards that were dealt. I'm going to just play the hand.
Well, here, let me just see if I can help you a smidge. Okay.
Yeah.
Spend some fucking money, dude. Serious. Like, dude, you got one car and your wife wants another one. And you're like, why do we need one? You don't need one. You don't. You can have two more and nothing's going to happen. You won't lose 1 ounce of sleep. You won't make less of an impact. Nothing's going to happen except for you make your wife happy. So now
I said okay.
Oh, okay, good. but 20 grand's their limit. You guys are doing 37 million a year, but hey, go get a Camry. Ain't no fucking Mercedes happening around here.
Which is great because then we can drive it without worrying about it, right? Like somebody tries to cut me off in my lane, I'm like, you can hurt the Camry. I'm good with it.
Dude, you can do that with any car. I had a 488 Ferrari, and everyone kept going like, dude, I can't believe you park it right there. I can't believe you drive it like that. I can't believe you give it to the valet guy. Guess what? Number one, it's insured just like a fucking Camry. Number two, if you own your possessions, then they don't own you. But most people buy these things, and then those things actually end up owning the person. Yeah. Because they won't do that. They're worried. Ooh, someone might scratch my car. Sure. Would you care if they scratched a fucking Camry? Well, it's just a Camry. It's just a car. It's just a fucking expensive car, but it's still a car.
I'll tell you a funny story about that. I rolled up to my first mastermind. So this is like, we just started gym launch. This may be 90 days later. We're doing maybe 250, 300 a month, but now 250, 300 a month, but like in information. So I'm taking home like 250 to 300 a month. And at this point, I'm a scratch millionaire, cash millionaire in my bank account after taxes, like it's there. And we roll up in a Prius with a crack in the windshield and a dent on the side to the mastermind. And I swear to God, there's a lady outside. She was one of our clients. And she said, I thought you were supposed to be like rich. She literally said this to me. And I was like, I am. You should see my bank account. But at that point, Layla was like, we should get another car. It looks bad. I was like, okay. So,
well, if I have any influence on you, which I'm sure I don't, spend some money, dude. What if you got hit by a car or something? What if you get COVID?
What if I get COVID? I've already had it. I'm sure I've had it. It's fine.
Yeah, but you said you don't have any kids. So what do you do with your money?
Well, Layla can then spend it on whatever she wants.
What if you die together?
If we die together, then my dad can spend it on whatever he wants.
Why don't you?
My dad's not going to spend it on anything.
Is he tight? Is he tight too?
Yeah, he's the one. He was the one with the paper napkins. He's the one with the paper towels. Yeah.
Well, whatever. So let's go back to the drama and the conspiracy just for a minute. So step one, the whole plan was to flatten the curve. Man, we can't overwhelm our hospitals, because if we do, man, we're all going to die because we won't have enough beds. Okay, so that's already been accomplished. We flattened the curve. Yeah. Why are they not letting us get back out there?
I think it transitioned to politics at that point. So that's just what I would observe is like, what's the money? Where's the motive? So
who do you think's at fault, Democrats or Republicans?
Well, I think that the Democrats would have the most to gain from tanking the economy, because the only way that Trump would get unelected is if they can attack that. I mean, that makes sense to me. So on some level, it's like, well, maybe if we hold out, if we can tank the country till then. There's also some state incentives, right? Like California is so bankrupt as a state, right? That maybe if they further tank their economy, they can blame it on COVID, and then they can get a bailout from the federal government, and then balance their budget.
That's exactly what's happening.
Right. That would make sense to me as an incentive. Now, is that horrible? Does that mistreat everyone in your state? Absolutely. Like, that's horrible.
You're the first one that I've talked to that actually, identifies with that. I've said that 3 times, that these states that are seemingly being more restricted than the rest all seem to be the states that were financially not doing as well as the rest. And when you think they'll give $13,000 for a dead body, or a COVID patient, $39,000 if you put them on a ventilator.
Yeah.
How much are they paying if you fucking tank your whole state's economy? Like they'll just bail you out.
Right. They'll just print money. I mean, it's not backed by anything. So the Fed can just, they can write a check to whoever if they want to.
Well, that's poor leadership. Poor leadership. That's another thing I don't like.
With you. I think that's horrible. But we're kind of witnessing it. So again, I try not to, it's what can I control? I can control how much we can market, how much we can sell, and if we can solve the problems. Like that's what we can do for now. If I was in California, I feel really bad because, most small businesses can't sustain for 6 months, because they're closed through August, right? Through August, average small business owner has 21 days of cash on hand.
Wouldn't you move if you lived there?
I would. I mean, I already did move away. I used to live in SoCal, so I totally would move. I did.
For taxes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody, see, that's my point. Like anybody that's smart, like even semi-smart, would not live there just because of stupid ass taxes. Now you introduce this strict COVID bullshit, dude. I'd be so fast out of SoCal, it'd be over with. Like I'd already be moving, money or no money. I'd be out.
Yeah.
What's scaring me is that I don't see any, leadership, if that's what you want to call it, stopping it. Like I think if I were Trump, I'd tell Newsom, hey Newsom, okay, stop. Anyone that did this, I'd be like, dude, we're taking over. Feds are taking over. This is leadership. All 50 states are going to listen to me right now. Boom. Do you have no more independence right now? We're 50 and we're going to act as one. Here's the leadership. I'd get rid of Fauci because he's a freaking scare tactic son of a bitch that has ties to Gates and all that. And then I just freaking tell people, listen, there's a virus. It can kill old people with comorbidities. The data is this. Now make up your own mind because this is a free country. If you want to open your restaurant and somebody wants to come in and eat at that restaurant, then freaking you both are adults. Have at it. Okay. Yep. If you're scared, stay home. The last thing I'm going to talk about.
If you want to have unprotected sex and you're in an HIV hot zone, you should know it's an HIV hot zone. Probably don't do that in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah. And why aren't they shutting down the world for that?
Yeah.
So my question, last question when it comes to this COVID shit, because I want to get back to the marketing. I want to pick the brain real quick on marketing. We're almost out of time, but I want to pick it a little farther. But what about masks?
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know anyone who like I'm fairly sure from what I have heard. The masks that are being required. I'm not saying masks don't work in general, but the masks that are being required are not the ones that work. And if I pull my shirt up or I put a bandana on my face, right, to go to the supermarket, like what am I, and then some people wearing gloves, some people not wearing gloves. Most people don't even know how to put a mask on right. They put it on their head, they put it on their forehead, they touch their face again. It doesn't do the preventive measure. What I would argue for masks is that it makes people aware of germs while they're wearing it. It doesn't actually have any functional thing, but psychologically, people are wearing it and they're going to be more cognizant of germs in general. That would be the only.
What about hypoxia? What about breathing in your own carbon monoxide?
I don't know how, but I mean, I think there's a lot of workers every day that breathe through masks, painters, nurses, surgeons who are in surgery all day. I think they do okay. That's where I would look if I was to pull data.
You say, oh, okay. See, now this is why I asked you, because, dude, I knew I'd get intelligent, common sense, logical, data-driven answers. Serious. Like, dude, I can ask some people, they get all emotional and shit. Like, fuck them. They're trying to control us all. And I'm one of them a little bit. Like, I'm getting pissed with this mask shit, okay? Fuck you and your mask, okay? I don't want to wear a goddamn mask, period. Okay? Now, again, if I had COVID and it prevented people from getting it, of course I would wear a mask voluntarily. But number one, I don't have COVID. And then they're like, well, how do you know? There's people with COVID that are asymptomatic. And I said, how the fuck do you know that there's people with COVID with asymptomatic or they're asymptomatic? Guess what? The news said it. Exactly, you fuck nut. You ain't out there performing fucking tests and verifying people have COVID, but they've got no symptoms. This is crazy. This guy is testing positive for COVID, but yet he has no symptoms. This shit can be asymptomatic. Who says that? I'll bet you 50 fucking bucks that's bullshit, if you ask me. Like, dude, have the flu asymptomatic. Dude, if you got the flu, you got some fucking symptoms. Okay, period. Now they're saying COVID is asymptomatic. No. That's so they can claim things. That's what I believe. Because again, how do you know if someone has COVID? You took a test. Okay, what's that test testing for? How do we know that test is even testing for COVID?
That's a whole nother. I would say there's two points that I would have delineated on what you were just saying. We talked about how we're marking deaths. Another part of data quality is how are we marking positives, right? In terms of cases. So now this is 100% anecdotal. So this is me speaking off conjecture, but my closest friend is a PhD biochemist, and he was explaining to me that coronavirus is a family of viruses, and it's not just COVID-19. And the tests that they have right now are testing. This was from my understanding from what he said. It tests for a certain protein, but that belongs to the whole family. And so it's not just that one that they've isolated, it's just the whole thing. And then that automatically makes the tests kind of invalid, and they're not accurate. So then you have false positives or, whatever. So it's like both data sources that we're using to make the decisions. If you were actually making decisions as a CEO, if you're making decisions about your business and your salespeople got commissions for marking people as showed up for their appointment but not closed, all of a sudden you'd have so many show-ups that'd be showing up to what? Well, you didn't close them, right? Well, I just marked that they showed up, right? I still get paid if they show up, right? And so, you know what I mean? That's kind of the teeter-totter there. The second piece was what you were saying about the asymptomatic. I actually see it in a different light with asymptomatic. I think that a ton of people have already had it. They just didn't show anything, which then means that we have a lot more herd immunity that's already been encountered. Because big picture with germs, in my opinion, if there were something, we'd all be fucked. Like that's my actual belief, because the amount of times we touch things, touch our face, we get boxes in the mail where someone drops them off, and the driver touches the wheel. Like there's too many times. Like, and what do? They keep their glove on, they touch their face, or they touch their cell phone, they take their glove off, and they touch their phone again. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like there's too many ways to spread germs that a glove and a mask is going to prevent it. Maybe you could say it cuts down on it, but the transmission, in my opinion, would still happen either way. So I think a lot more people have been exposed to it than would otherwise. And they got it. They have an immune system. Immune system reacted, created antibodies, and they didn't need to show anything. Maybe they were short of breath for a little bit, but they barely noticed it. And then all of a sudden you might have 20 times the amount of people who have gotten it compared to what they're even saying, even the inflated numbers, because that's a separate issue, the testing. But if 20 times the amount of people or 10 times the amount of people have already had it, then half the country's already had it and just nothing happened. Right. So I think there's some layers to it. Big picture, we've dealt with the flu our whole fucking lives, like whatever. So sorry, that's my 2 cents on both those two things.
Intelligent, data-driven answers. Thank you, Mr. Hormozi. Now let's get back to some marketing discussion to wrap this up. I want to know, if I'm a business out there, a business owner, regardless of what business I'm in, if I had to follow in the footsteps of Alex Hormozi, am I pronouncing that right? Hormozi?
Hormozi. Yep.
So if I followed in the footsteps of Alex Hormozi and said, fuck it, I need to learn how to market first, would that be a wise step for every entrepreneur on earth to learn it themselves rather than rely on someone else?
Yes.
Even if it costs money, even if they don't have the money, even if they got to go spend some of that hard-earned capital that they don't have.
So I have a fundamental belief that you cannot be broke and have time. You got to pick one, right? You either have time and no money, or you've got money and no time. You can't have neither, right? Because if you're broke, you can always trade more time for dollars. You can always do that. As I've leveled up as an entrepreneur, I've always had a plan B that was $100,000 a year, even with zero. So when I had my gyms, my plan B was I'd drive Uber during the day and I'd strip at night. That was 100% my plan B. If this failed, that's what my plan B was. I'd make 150 grand a year doing that. I'd make 75 as an Uber driver working 12, and then I'd probably make another 75, maybe 100 stripping at night. I don't care. Zero. Like, I have no shame in that stuff. Like, that's how I operate. And so if someone's like, well, I don't want to strip at night, Alex, like, cool, then get another job, whatever. You can drop shift, you can go e-commerce. Like, there's a million things you can do. But the point is, if you work for 16 hours a day, like, you will have enough money to buy the things that you want to level up your skill set. But your investment, in my opinion, I think you should be consistently investing in skills until you can't even find somewhere to put the money to invest in more skills. And so I had a talk that I gave a while ago, where I got quoted. I was like, unless you're making $100,000 a month take home, at that point is maybe when I would maybe consider not spending as much on it, but still like it's just hard to spend $100,000 a month in education, to be honest with you. Like, but if I see something, I buy it instantly. And when it was in the beginning of my career, it might've been half of my paycheck or 100% of my paycheck was going towards learning how to market, learning how to sell, because everything, at least for me, is sequential. So you have to solve your first problem. I don't have customers. Well, I need to learn how to get demand. I need to generate demand. And then you're like, well, shit, how do I get them to show up for these appointments? And then you learn how to nurture leads. And then shoot, these people are showing up for their appointments. I don't know how to sell. Then you learn how to sell. And then you're like, well, shit, what am I selling? Obviously you should have some idea what you're selling before you start, but typically you can sell services. You can sell information or services, both of cost zero money to start. And I think that those are the best businesses to start for people who are starting out, because they don't require capital to get going. It just requires knowledge, and knowledge is easy to attain. And a lot of knowledge you can get for very little money. You can go on Udemy, you can go on YouTube, and you can Google right now how to run Facebook ads. It's not Google how to run Facebook ads. You'll learn how to run Facebook, how to build a landing page.
Would you learn well though?
Was that?
Would you learn well? Is there free how to run Facebook ads that you've witnessed that are like, dude, that is how you do it?
It's a great question, because when you're starting, you don't have the perspective from which to make a judgment on what is good and what is bad. Yes, I can identify what a good Facebook ad training would be on YouTube, but somebody who's starting may not. So what's the solution? You got to ask you. You got to start, right?
Or just ask you, what's a good one? What's a good one?
Oh, I think if you look at John Loomer, he's got great stuff. You look at Justin Brook, he's phenomenal at traffic in general. You look at John Belcher, Jon Belcher, he's got great stuff on traffic. I mean, if you look for it, they're there. You know, go like. Yeah,
but everybody says, oh, those are all scams. Those fucking online courses are all ripoffs.
Well,
which they're not.
You took Spanish in high school. Do you speak Spanish? Is Spanish a ripoff?
No.
Right. You just weren't good at it. Okay. Now, that being said, sure, there are people who aren't. And so my belief is that most people are not intrinsically bad. I don't think people have bad intentions. There are some people who are better at teaching than others. And I will 100% give you that. There's some courses that don't do a good job at teaching the thing. That's usually not the intention of the person. It's probably an earlier on entrepreneur. It's just not as good, right? This is being real. And so I think that the best way to do this, if I'm looking at if I'm starting out, where am I going to invest my money? I'm going to look at the most proven business, the one that has the most reviews, the most 5 stars, whatever. I'm going to look at that business and I'm going to say, okay, this many people got results of this. There must be enough here that if I work it, it will work. Right. If someone's got no reviews, then I probably wouldn't load there. They've got 2. If you get on the phone with someone, they're like, well, I've got 2 customers. It's like, maybe because you have the option. You can go to someone who's got 100. You can go to someone who's got 500. So go to the people who already have proven it out and go. Now, one of the hacks that I've had in my life is that when I really want to acquire a skill, I pay for one-on-one training. So this is earlier on. This is when I had my gyms. I learned enough about Facebook ads I learned enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be like an expert. I learned enough to get the job done, but I knew that I needed to level up my skill set. So I walked around or asked people, I said, who are the best guys? And one guy came up. And so I called him up. I said, hey man, like I need to learn Facebook ads. And he's like, well, he's like, I've got a course. And I was like, no, I don't want to go through your course. I want you to teach me how to run these ads for my gym the way you would run them. And he was like, well, I don't do that. And I'm like, it's America. Everyone's got a price. What is it? Right? What would it take for you to go one-on-one with me? He said $750 a week. And I said, done. Like, why didn't you just say that? Right. And so one of the big beliefs that I have, even in the gym space, is you should always have a one-on-one price because someone is willing to pay it. Right. And make it a price that you'd be actually happy to say yes to. Like, I still sell personal training services for $500,000 an hour. You want to come to my house? I'll train you $500,000 an hour all day long. I'll do it. No problem. Right. I have that price. Most people aren't willing to do that because there's an alternative solution that's just about as good for probably 100,000th of that. But the point remains that if you can, you'll much more rapidly learn. And that person in a one-on-one setting will be forced to cater the context of the content to what you're looking for. And so I was like, I don't want to generalize. I was like, I want you to teach me how you would run my ads for my gym. And then he showed me. And I was like, great, now I know how to do this stuff. And then
was he in the gym business?
No, he was just a traffic guy. And so it only took.
What if I called him and I said, I want you to teach me, well, not me, my guy. I want you to teach my guy how to run Lightspeed ads.
Yeah, I do that all the time for my team. So for my traffic guy, I have 2 guys that I pay one-on-one consulting fees for to teach him. And he already knows any course that you want, I will buy it for you. Here's the contingencies. You have to go through it. You have to take notes, and you have to tell me exactly how we're going to use it. And then you have to show me once you did. Otherwise, I won't buy you another one. And he's been doing that every time. And that's why I've got one of the best traffic guys on the planet. No one even knows who he is. It's okay. Because he's done. But that's because I invested in him. Because what better use? Same thing with the sales guys. You want a sales training? You want it? I'll give it to you. But you got to go through it. You got to show me how you're going to change the scripting up. And you got to show me how you've been implementing it. Or you're not getting another.
If somebody's listening to this says, man, I can't afford these courses, what's in your mind, the best marketing book to start with?
I actually think that .com Secrets, Russell's book, is a really good starting place. It's not going to teach you how to run ads, but because so for people who are starting out, the fundamental problem with everyone who's starting out is that they're thinking that there's one question they can ask that's going to make them money. And that's not the truth, because there's not one skill that will make you money. Like learning how to market, like we're saying, like Brad and I are saying, is not one skill. It's learning how to write headlines. It's learning how to write copy. It's learning how to make creative, learning how to make videos. It's learning how to make landing pages that convert, learning how to build an opt-in page, learning how to build a text and follow-up sequence. Like those are all learning how to link all those together, learn how to place the ad on a traffic platform, learning the different nuances between Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter and whatever, TikTok, who cares, right? So there's a lot of mini skills that encompass marketing. And that's why guys who are starting out are like, man, I bought this course on copywriting. I didn't make any more money. I was like, well, yeah, you don't know how to place an ad. You don't know how to build a landing page. You don't know how to make an offer. You don't know how to stack value. You don't have that yet, right? You have to have all those things. And unfortunately, people who are starting out mistake making $0 as a lack of progress. But the reality is that you have a lot of steps that are underground that you have to step up below ground zero. The moment you make your first dollar that goes over the bridge from you marketing and selling, the second dollar comes right afterwards. It's not as hard to go from $0 to $1 as it from $1 to $2. Like it's just getting the first dollar across the bridge that's the hard part. And building the bridge has a lot of breaks.
Dude, smart man. Alex Hormozi, folks, if you guys want to follow him at Hormozi, Hormozi on Instagram, Alex.Hormozi on Facebook, Twitter, your gym launch. And if I were you guys, I'd go, especially if you're in the gym business, but listen, you can learn a lot, even if it's not a gym business you're in. I'd go get his book. You buy that at alexsbook.com, alexspodcast.com. You'd be hearing all kinds of shit like this on a regular basis. And the meals, dude, Prestige Meals or Prestige Labs started this done for you meals.com or alexsmeals.com. Dude, if you go there and you, order meals, basically, in my mind, every gym on earth should have fucking meals. Why? Well, because don't they say like 80% of it is how you eat? So why are you going to the gym every day, 6 days a week, then going home trying to figure out how to eat healthy when for a chump change amount of money, you buy the meals too? So that's the last thing I want to talk about, dude. Those meals, what, like, I don't know how you seal them, but when they show up and they're all freaking easy as shit, it tells you exactly the freaking micros and the macros, and you pop it in a microwave for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 4 minutes if it's frozen, and you got some freaking good ass nutritious meals instantly. Why wouldn't everybody on earth do that?
So most people don't think rationally. Right? If you make more than $40,000 a year, it makes no economic sense for you to take the time to grocery shop, bring it in, put the things in the cabinet, prepare your food, decide what you're going to eat, chop it up, bake it, grill it, eat the food, then clean it. Like all of that, average U.S. American woman spends 10 hours a week just preparing and cleaning food. They spend 3 hours a week on average going to and from the grocery store and shopping for groceries. 2.7, but so you're talking 12 hours a week. And that doesn't even include eating the food, right? 12 hours a week. So you're talking 40 hours a month, right? That you're spending. You're spending an entire work week every month. I don't know what you make per hour, but if you're like, man, I don't have time, I'm like, well, there's 48 hours for you, my gift to you, that you can save, that you can have all that time back to learn all the skills that you say you don't have. And then you have to look at it as the opportunity cost of the time, right? Like, shoot, Uber is actually picking back up, but there's a million things you can do in 50 hours a week to afford all of the courses and things that you want. And you should start with books. Books are phenomenal. They cost nothing, right? Like, books are cheap. You can buy books. The only stuff that's a little bit more difficult is, like, I would say the only thing that has to really be consistently relevant is traffic. That stuff changes constantly. The interface changes, but like everything else, how to sell is evergreen. Once you learn how to sell, never changes. Learning how to market, the theory behind it, making an offer, headlines, writing copy, that does not change, right? So once you learn all those skills, there's only one thing that you need that's relevant. And again, you can look on YouTube and you should be able to see if this guy's got 500,000, subscribers on YouTube and he's a traffic guy, he's probably pretty good, right? If the guy has like 900, it's about traffic, right? If you knew how to get traffic, you'd probably be pretty good at it. It's like the marketers who, like I've got would-be gurus who try to attack us. I'm like, why do you think we're 100 times bigger than these guys? I'm like, well, maybe they're not as good at marketing as we are, but aren't they supposed to be selling you marketing? Right. So like, it's kind of a losing proposition. Like, the only way that you can beat us is to be bigger than us, but you're not. So sorry, that sounded arrogant, but that wasn't the point. Anyways, for everyone who's listening, you can learn all this stuff on a dime if you just do it.
Alex, you the man. I appreciate you spending time. We went over my allotted time. I appreciate that. Hopefully you'll look in that email, go check that, hit me up and let me know how that worked out. Cause dude, I got to figure out something. I got to figure out some secret sauce where Lightspeed's got the secret sauce. And then dude, like I said, I'm not greedy. I'll cut you in. You come figure out how to freaking sell it. I'm just starting to do what you did. Now, again, everybody's got their own way of doing things. There's more than one way to skin a cat. But if I were you guys listening, I'd probably follow the way Alex is describing, because I did it the backwards way. I learned sales. I can close anybody on anything. And I think the reason I'm successful is because I closed a lot of people on a lot of things, right? So if I would have learned to market first, I think I would be a lot farther ahead. The reason why is I sold everyone a license and let them figure out how to market it. And I would just sit back and cheerlead and be impressed and, oh, good job. Wow. How'd you do that? Oh shit. That's fabulous. Give me my piece. Thank you. Well, what are you doing next? But the problem is when those people started getting big, because the ones that figure out marketing always do, right? When they started getting big, they're like, why the fuck am I cutting you such a big check? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm the one that started this whole thing. I'm the one that told you to do it. They're like, yeah, but we're the ones doing it. And now I can kind of just, figure out some other way to deliver what you've been delivering. And I'm thinking, dude, this is bullshit. This is unfair. So I had to get forced into saying, okay, so now I got to go learn my own marketing. And maybe I'll come back and kick you in the dick really quick by basically coming after you. Now, I'm starting to learn marketing and I'm starting to see, oh shit. And everything you just said, I think folks, if you're listening, one of the main things he said is marketing is a huge word, dude. It's copy. Like people say, just get a click funnel and you'll make millions. No, that's how Russell, and I am nothing against Russell or click funnels. I think we use it, but a click funnel is not all you need. You're not one funnel away. Okay. You're one funnel, one headline, one copywriter, one product, one pricing, one targeting, one placing. Folks, if you don't place the right ad the right way, your beautiful headline and copy doesn't do shit. And vice versa. So that whole thing you said of all those things that are necessary to technically do good marketing is a lot. And
it's a lot. If everyone here is listening, feels overwhelmed by that, good. Because it means that the rest of the market is going to stay broke. And if you do achieve it, there's just unbelievable amounts of gold on the other side of the rainbow. Automated gold, right?
I'm serious. Dude, yeah. like Closer School. I'm not doing it. I hired someone to do it. But dude, I'm doing $10,000, $15,000 a week. I'm spending $875 a day. I haven't scaled it. I just threw it out there. I do it as an example. So when people come here and they're like, oh, Lightspeed doesn't work. I'm like, dude, look, it's 4 hours of training. I put it in the system. I advertise it. We're doing 15 grand a week. Okay. Net, by the way. Yeah. So it does work, but the automated money makes me think, dude, why am I not filling up closer school? Why am I not taking that more seriously? Why don't I scale that up? Like, that's crazy. I don't do anything.
Yeah.
I love automated money.
Let me add one thing for everybody who's starting out, who's really like just getting new. Sales and demand gen, those two skills alone will feed you for the rest of your life. Like you'll never go hungry. And in my opinion, the way that you can get much better at marketing much faster, or at least make money online much faster, is connecting a phone to a funnel. All right. It's much more difficult, takes much more split testing, way more savvy and skill to get someone to take their credit card out and buy something from you than it does to get them to give your name, phone number, and email address. All right. And so, and right now there's products on Facebook that you can just do a lead ad, which you don't have to build a page. You just run the ad and they double click on their thumb, and then you automatically get the name of the lead. And what do? You call them up and you say, hey, so-and-so, you're from the internet. What's up? What made you click on the ad? Right. And then Brad's probably giving you every content under the sun for how to close someone. So like, you're not that far away. I would try and simplify this whole thing. Is like, if you can just get someone to give you their name, phone number, and email address and say, I would like more information on this problem, you can sell them. Right. And then you just have to learn a very simple script. Sales over the phone is a skill that you can learn in weeks. It's not a skill, like it takes years to perfect it, but you can get proficient in a matter of weeks with reps. So I just to reverse what I said about disincentivizing you, there's a very little amount that you just have to do to get that first dollar. Just get them on the phone and then close them. I still to this day don't sell anything through a funnel. Because I'm a sales guy first, and I learned how to market because I went to that conference, and I've kind of continued to level up. I still think I'm better at sales than I am at marketing. But I just always want to meet someone as soon in the funnel as I can, because I know how to drill a sales team. I know how to build sales scripts. I know how to get them to close. And usually you can get 10 times, 20 times as much money attaching a phone to a funnel than you can trying to get someone to buy something through a funnel. And so it also allows you a lot more safety net for sucking at marketing. Right? Like, I don't think the marketing that we have is the best out there. We just make more than everyone else does per customer. And that allows us to outbid everyone. So it's just a key differentiator.
Yeah, and your price has to kind of stay low if you expect it to be without touching and talking.
Yeah, you can instantly 4 or 5 extra prices over the phone if you have someone selling it instantly, no matter what the product is.
Folks, you heard it. Alex, I appreciate it. Next time you're in town, make sure you come by. I want to do a live. I know the sound on these are not as good, but man, I knew I had one opportunity to get Alex on the horn, so I said, fuck it, we're doing a Zoom.
Well, super. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And hopefully the audience got something from it.
Oh, I guarantee you they did, dude. Listen, share this out with all your friends and family. Follow Alex, and always keep it real.